the amount of new product coming on the market over the next year or so is just mind-boggling. Right now here in Nashville, in the core, you have a lot of these new, but also whether it's only been built a year or two, that are, basically giving, free rent for the first few months, right? So, which you've never seen in Nashville.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show here every Saturday from noon to 1. I'm so excited that we are here. We're actually in a different format today, and Brian is joining us in studio with us, Brian Truman, and Kim Hollingshead Associate, my co-host. And we are going to be talking about building generational wealth through real estate. But the passion that I've heard and just talking, behind the scenes is the diversity that you bring. And one of the coolest events that I went to, and that was when I first met Ken a couple years ago, and got so much valuable information. So excited to share with our listeners this event that's coming back in 2024. So welcome to the studio.
Well, thank you.
All right, so Brian, tell us all about the SVNSL commercial real estate event that you guys are hosting on May 3rd here in Nashville. This is going to be an awesome event. Tell everyone about it.
Yes, we are going to do that, and it's going to be formatted after the one that we did in 2021. We held that one at City Winery, but it's an all-day event. We have numerous speakers coming in to speak, on self-growth, on real estate, on finance, legacy, how to leave a legacy. So we're going to cover all of it. So it's not just a real estate one. It's not one of those rah-rah. It's going to be very intentional. The speakers are going to be ones that are going to be leaving with you action items to help you become better at whatever field you're in, whether you're doing mortgages, whether you're doing title, whether you're doing real estate like us. So it's going to be a absolutely awesome event. We are going to have, the newest technology available, and we are really looking forward to it. It is going to be great. We're looking. We just kind of announced that today, the date. So we have about 6 months to get ready for it all, but all of our speakers are already lined up, ready to go. So now we are going to be on the hunt for those that want to sponsor. So then I can hit up people like Kim Hollingshead.
What's the location? Have you identified that to let our listeners know? Because that sounded like really cool.
Yeah,
when you
the
guys were talking off the
location
air.
it's going to be off of McGavick Pike.
Okay.
There, it's a new facility that's really being built for a training facility. But we happen to be real good friends with the owners of this new facility, and so they are asking us to host our event there. And like I say, it's got the newest, brightest technology. So, for the speakers, having sound quality is great. It's got, cameras that follow the speakers wherever they go, and the audio is incredible. We've been to the facility, checked it out, so we are really, really excited.
So you've got the full speaker lineup set?
Yep.
Totally set.
Yeah.
You got some great speakers. So tell us about your headliners.
Yeah, so our main headliner is going to be Rob Luna, who he's now the owner of Real Talk Capital, and he's, for the last, I don't know how many years, 3 or 4 years, he's been, rated and voted as the #1 wealth advisor in the whole entire country by Forbes magazine. He has has a new book coming out in a couple of weeks from now, basically talking about how to help your wealth gap. So it is going to be great stuff. He does a wealth academy. And he is very big. The thing I really like about Rob is that he is all about helping, people learn how to manage money, how to invest in money. And he really wants to help a lot of people that maybe haven't had access to somebody of his, his stature on learning how to invest. And so I'm a part of his Wealth Academy. So every Tuesday he is on, and it's him live. It's not somebody else. He's Zooming with everybody. I mean, he talks you through on how to look at stocks, how to pick stocks, what to look at, everything, down to.
He has a heart for helping people really
Exactly.
build wealth through
Yep.
this.
Yep.
And that, I kind of see you guys doing the same thing in real estate. I was talking with a friend last night at supper, and he does a lot of day trading, and he's very heavily invested in the stock market. And of course I do real estate, right? Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of shy away from the stock market. I'm sort of like, the S&P. I'm like an index girl because I don't feel comfortable in that space. Then likewise, he doesn't feel as comfortable in real estate because he's kind of more in that world. And I feel like the two of you pick your lane. That's where you spend the majority of your time. But it's always great to educate yourself, to learn more about it. That's the cool thing about the Wealth Academy is that, like, where else are you going to get this kind of coaching information? And also, he's really gearing that towards younger people, isn't he?
That's correct. And he's half Cuban. And so a lot of his audience, or, a lot of these folks that are on his Wealth Academy, they come from all over the country, but you probably have a majority that are Hispanic, who have never had anybody talk to them about
that's awesome.
Money and how to invest and how to, create wealth. And so he, like you say, he's got an absolute passion of helping people and learning, which I think has drawn us to him, maybe him to us, because of the fact that, we do our 2 monthly learning series at our office, which is all about how to create generational wealth. And we have a lot of the people that attend often come up to us and just say, this is amazing that you guys don't charge for this. We have to go somewhere and, spend 3 days at a seminar and pay $1,500 to just attend that. Yeah. And then at the end, they're asking for like $45,000 to have somebody help them find a deal, how to find financing, where to get property management and all that. In fact, we just had a group that came in the office last Tuesday. They're coming in again on Saturday, but they had went to a seminar at the Grand Ole Opry, paid $1,500 to go learn about multifamily. And then when they got done, the 2.5 days, they asked them all $45,000 for each one to then help them go along.
To like join a coaching series or something.
Yeah, and maybe a mastermind, things like that. Well, one of them in that group had met me at a networking event. I've only met him once, but he remembered meeting me, and he said to the group that he was kind of there with, he was like, I know a broker, multifamily broker here in Nashville. He's like, why don't I ask him if he would be willing to sit down with us and kind of talk to us? So he called me on a Sunday night and said, hey, I know you, I met you. There's a group of us. There's about 16 of us. We attended this event, but they wanted like $45,000. But what they're asking $45,000 for, isn't this similar what you do with your clients? And I flat out told him, I said, yeah, and we'll actually walk alongside with you. I was like, now, if you want to pay me $45,000, that's great, but you're going to pay me $45,000 for doing my job? We're like, we don't charge people $45,000. This is actually our job. This is what we do day in and day out, is help people, do this. So
I love it.
That's one of I think the one big differences with SVN Excel Commercial Real Estate is we're all about helping educate the community on, real estate, no matter what segment it is, whether it's, multifamily or industrial or, land or hospitality and, all of that. So we have top brokers in every one of those segments here that that whole learning, educating is our culture, right? So
Yeah,
we're,
it's a huge part of everything.
we are very picky on who we hire. We interview we probably get 2 or 3 calls a week from people who want to come to work for us, but we hire very, very few people. Because when they come in and sit down and we kind of go over our culture, but we tell them up front, if any of this is not you, doesn't fit you, just let us know. It won't hurt our feelings, anything like that. Because, if they don't fit our culture, that we build, and that's what draws a lot of people to us, because many of our clients have been with us for years and years. They're very loyal to us. But again, I think it's that culture that we have built over the years.
It's their heart.
Yeah, the heart to teach.
Yeah.
That's why we're all aligned.
So I know
in the
that
same
was a
room.
long answer, right?
So I do think that was a great kickoff to the first segment of the radio show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stay tuned. We'll come back and continue to learn more about commercial real estate, multifamily, and building wealth through generations to come. Welcome back to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show here every Saturday from noon to 1, the original real estate show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm happy to be here with my co-host, Kim Hollingshead. And Kim, you always bring on guests that so align with us when it comes to just really a platform of education for our listeners. So I'm going to let you, for those that are just now tuning in, introduce our guest and continue to share some knowledge about how to create generational wealth.
Yeah, thank you. So we have Brian Truman. He's one of the co-owners of SVN SL Commercial Real Estate. He's here. Specialty is in multifamily commercial, like sales and leasing, actually. They do everything: development, new construction, land, office, industrial. They do it all. So one of my questions for you, I'll set this up with a little bit of a story, and then I'll jump into my question. So I'm in the middle of a project right now. We're in the process of acquiring a parcel that we need, and the gentleman who owns it is renting it, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage, and he's making $2,000 a month in rent. And he purchased this property. He got it at a pretty good steal post a great housing recession, I guess. So I think he bought it in like 2011, 2012, but he bought it at foreclosure sale. So he got a pretty good deal on it. He doesn't feel like he's losing money every month, right? Because he's charging $2,000 a month, but he bought it at such a good price and so long ago, he probably doesn't feel and doesn't realize, wow, there's an opportunity cost. I could sell this property and put my money somewhere else and get a much greater rate of return on it than what I'm doing now. I kind of feel like maybe there are some people who are listening who are maybe in a similar situation where they are investing in real estate. They're doing a great job investing. Maybe there are some better options out there for people too, and they just are not comfortable stepping outside of residential. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit, because they stay in the lane that they know. We were talking about that earlier too, which is like people invest in what they know in and what they're comfortable. So in the commercial space and in industrial, there are so many opportunities though, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to start off by saying I appreciate the invitation to be on. Kim and I go way back. Hollingshead title, if you don't use them, you need to.
Thank you.
We use them almost exclusively when we have the option to pick, and they do a tremendous job.
Thanks, Brian.
Her and her staff. So very good.
Thank you.
Opportunity cost. Yeah, you're probably correct in that, gentleman. Not only is sounds like he's given up opportunity cost just based on what he actually currently owns, even if he wanted to keep that, because if that's all he's renting it for, there's probably definitely some upside on that.
Yeah.
But then to your point, he could definitely sell that, in this market, and then 1031 that into something else, right? Different property.
So explain 1031 very quickly.
Yeah,
just so the listeners
1031
know.
exchange is once you sell a property, you can take the money from that sale of that real estate and then you have 45 days to identify another piece of real estate. So you have to buy like kind. So you can't sell real estate and then go out and buy a business or something like that, right?
Right.
It has to be real estate to
Does
real
that
estate.
mean like commercial to residential? It'd have to go commercial to commercial or residential to residential as far as zoning.
No.
As long as it's real estate,
Yep.
you can
Long as
In
it's
some
real estate.
instances, you could even do like an RV to real estate. I mean, like kind doesn't even mean that it has to be exactly the same
Okay.
Yeah.
product.
Yeah. So we could sell that real estate, and then you have 45 days to identify at least 3 other properties, and then you have 120 days after that to close on one of those properties, right? On your 1031
And you get to
exchange.
roll
So-
the proceeds over and
Yep.
avoid the payment of
And you don't
capital
have to
gains
pay
at that
taxes.
time. It just
Yep.
defers the capital
Yeah.
gains taxes to a later
Yeah,
time.
and many of our clients, that some of them that are, now in their late 60s, they've been buying real estate since they might have been late 20s. That's all they do is they have just 1031 and they haven't had to pay
Any
taxes.
capital gains?
No cap
Yeah.
gains.
No.
Capital gains forever, right?
So,
So
somebody
that's an
moving from
advantage, so.
what would be the thing you would tell someone who's looking at maybe they own residential, they're doing Airbnbs, so we hear like,
Yeah.
and those are on the decline right now, and depending on the type of Airbnb, it could be a good time to maybe look at other types of real estate. And so what would you tell someone who's in the residential space and maybe they want to take a look at, or they're curious about commercial?
Yeah, probably the majority of the people that we see that are in residential that might own a home or two for a rental for income. Most of those people then go, you know what? They hear about multifamily and they think, okay, let's see, if I have 2 houses, somebody ups and leaves, all of a sudden now 50% of my revenue is, out the door, right? So they look at it and go, well, let's see, maybe I need to go into multifamily to where I can buy, 20, 30, 40 units. And if I have one vacancy, it's not going to hurt my cash flow like it would if I lost
Yes.
50%, right? So,
Interesting.
so those folks, they all seem to tend to move into multifamily from that. The other investment that I really like, and I tend to, if people are a little, maybe multifamily, I don't know necessarily about that exactly. The other one that I really talk to them about is multi-tenant industrial. And what that means is you have an industrial building, or you can build an industrial building and create what they call flex spaces. So those spaces can be anything from like 2,500 square feet, 4,000 square feet, or maybe even 6,000. But they're individual, and they may have a office or 2 up front with maybe a conference room, and then the rest of it's warehouse space, and it has a roll-up door in the back to where that they can use for whatever their use is. Well, those are excellent because you can either sell those spaces, and basically you're building it's like you're condoizing this building. You can either sell them, and every time we've ever had the chance to sell it, we always sell it for usually way over what they even think they can get for it, because it's such a need here in Nashville. Or they can lease them out and do them on triple net leases, meaning that all the tenants are paying insurance, they're paying the taxes, they're paying their utilities, everything else. So it's it's almost mailbox money.
So they're covering basically your liability if you get a mortgage financing.
Yep.
And then you've got the appreciation factor because Nashville is such a great
Right.
area
Yeah.
to be investing in real estate.
Yeah, and those tenants also tend to be ones that will sign, 5 at the very least, 5 year. A lot of them sign like a 10-year lease, right? So they're in there long term. They're usually companies that are great. They're not ones that are going to be going out of business anytime soon. So it's not like having a multi-tenant retail where you may have, a vape shop or something, nothing wrong with that, but, or beer and tobacco, whatever.
Not
that,
as stable.
That a lot of
Yeah.
times may turn over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These tenants in the multi-tenant industrial usually don't turn over. So they're great tenants. And that is.
So what kind of tenants are they? Like dance studios, like
a lot
tile, carpet?
Well, it could be your, like your ChemDry, carpet cleaning company, or,
Makes sense.
all of those. Maybe a roofing company that, has, vehicles, and they have inventory that they need to store for that backside, for the roll-up doors, things like that. So it's those kind of businesses that rarely do you ever see going out of business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're great. So to me, it's like, number one, I'm a huge proponent of multifamily, but I'd have that one, but 1A or 1B would be this multi-tenant industrial. If I can say one last thing on that is if people will ask me, well, I got a little money, if I wanted to buy some land, what would I do with it? I tell them, buy land, build this multi-tenant industrial, because, a lot of these are, they're easy throw up metal buildings that you can kind of condoize, right? So your expense is not a ton of money compared to that. And then, like I say, you can either, and it's a huge need. We have a lack of that in Nashville, and particularly like in, the south part of Williamson County, kind of going on down to Spring Hill, Maury County, things like that. There is such a lack of that and a need for that. So if I owned land, that's
where you
that's
go.
what I would. That's what I'd do with it.
A couple of questions as we're, we've been, and to me and Kim have talked about it quite a bit. Stats are out that our industry's down the lowest it's been as far as in 22 years as far as interest rates. So do you feel on your side the sensitivity of consumers when it comes to commercial, industrial, feeling that impact and maybe missing out on opportunities? And how do you, we talk about where to find land. I mean, it's hard for builders to find land to build what you're talking about. So give us, from your perspective, do you feel like that the interest rates rising, 40-year high inflation is affecting that, or is there still such a niche in demand because of geographically or where we're at?
Yeah, great question. It's in it. Like I say, great question, because obviously interest rates are affecting everyone, whether it's residential or on the commercial side. I will say that you have a lot of, for us anyway, we have a lot of buyers that are still out there wanting to buy and wanting to purchase, even with the interest rates where they are. What the struggle is helping the sellers and the owners of these properties understand that we're not in 2020 or 2021 where they can try to sell their property at a 4 cap. Right? If interest rates are around 7 or 8, your cap rate needs to match it in order for them to even, basically break even, type thing. So it's trying to educate them. We're seeing the cap rates now finally starting to creep up.
Good.
And getting, into the high 6s and 7s now, and that, which now, so there's a lot of, as they, call the term powder, a lot of dry powder sitting on the sidelines, just waiting to buy. And so we have, we're as busy now as we ever. In fact, we're actually in the hiring mode. And, this is another thing kind of about a little bit about us,
in
but
this environment. Yes.
But, even when the pandemic hit, and there's a lot of commercial real estate companies were saying, well, we're going to go do this because it's down, nobody's wanting to buy, all of that stuff. We looked at it as the opportunity to go take market share. And we're doing the same thing right now with the interest rates, because there's a lot of people going, a lot of the big box companies, Colliers, Cushman, they're laying off or letting go 30, 40% of their agents, all of that stuff. Here we are, we're hiring because we have enough business coming in the door that we need more people.
I think it
more
goes
agents,
back
so.
to just more of an educational stance too,
Yep.
because a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines because they don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And I think that when, times get challenging, that is where you see the talent rise to the top, and the people that are passionate about helping others are continuing to grow in what we, as the media would call, a down market.
Yeah.
You're continuing to grow. There's opportunities that are always out there. And so that's great for you sharing that, because I do know there's a lot of clients that I work with that are scared of commercial, like Kim was talking about, stay in your own lane. And just it's an unknown territory. But that is really sometimes where the opportunity really lies to create the generational wealth that we've been talking about.
And one of the things I was going to say too is one of the things we've been doing a lot lately is we have had brokers from some of the boutique residential firms. So maybe they have 20 to 50 agents reach out to us and say, hey, we're now, because of residential maybe slowing down a little bit, we have some of our agents that maybe have run into a commercial deal, but we as brokers have no idea how to do commercial, even to what to do. We don't want our agents getting in trouble because they've done something wrong. So can you come in and provide that education, right? And so we have been going around basically talking to these different boutique kind of residential firms, and talking about, hey, this is why you'd want to really refer that business to us, because here's what kind of trouble you could get into if you don't know what you're doing. And a lot of those brokers are just like, hey, they flat out tell their agents, when you get something, refer them to Excel. And that's, I think, part of the reason why we're growing is because we're getting a lot of referrals coming in from residential agents who are like, hey, I've got this, but I have no clue how to help these guys. So I'm fine with giving you a name and getting 25% for just giving you a name. I don't have to do anything, and so.
Yeah, because it's nice to work with a brokerage of your size, because you know that, how many residential agents have those referrals to send?
Yeah.
That's great.
All right, we got to take a break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome back to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show. Tonya Esquibel here every Saturday from noon to 1, helping families. If you would like to get some more information, whether it's residential purchase, commercial, which we've been talking about if you're just now tuning in, give our local team a call, 615-300-0794, 615-300-0794. Kim Hollingshead, my co-host in studio with me, Brian Truman, commercial, multifamily, industrial, learning so much. So if you've missed the show so far, please go check it out on our podcast, on our social media rims, and also our YouTube. So Brian, thank you so much. It just takes so much time to share all this knowledge that you have.
Yep.
I feel like I could just sit here with you for hours and hours and still would feel like I need another year sitting here with Brian.
Right.
You're just so knowledgeable with everything and the way that you explain it. And I know markets are different, and it's so exciting to see that you're continuing to grow your company and your business in that arena. And I even know from a personal standpoint, my daughter has reached out and is working with your firm and trying to get her employer from California to consider open up a business here, and just the experience and everything has been really, really great. So the thing that I am passionate about is education. That's why me and Kim align, and obviously you're aligning in that arena as well. Yes. Is you mentioned at the beginning of the show, there's companies out there that will want you to come in and pay $1,500 and then try to sell you $45,000 to teach you how to build generational wealth. And you host 2 meetings a month in your office that is complimentary to help people. And so I think it says a lot about people that do take their time to give back and provide education to the community, it does come back, because when other companies are laying people off, you guys are growing. So just wanted our listeners to know the heart of your company and what you do. And it's not something that's going to be an info commercial here that's like, oh, if you call Brian and the team, they're going to be charging you this much money. It's, you offer that complimentary. So I just want to say thank you, because a lot of people don't do that.
You bet. Thank you. So
yeah.
appreciate that. And to that, I'm just going to pick on that point real quick, which is it's kind of a little bit entertaining. I went to a meetup Wednesday night that one of our clients was hosting, and he kind of introduced me and said, yeah, if you're looking for multifamily, this is the broker, the only one in Nashville you really need to know. And one of the great things that makes him different is he actually answers his phone when you call, right? So that was Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. Yesterday, he calls. It didn't have his name. It just had an area code, which is 502, which I knew it's Louisville. So I went ahead and answered it. And he goes, yeah, Brian. He goes, hey, this is Christopher. He's like, I called for no other reason other than you said, and Tommy said, you answer your phone. So I called to see if you would.
And you absolutely
so I actually answered his call, right?
Yes,
so he goes, okay, I guess he is right. He's like, that's all I wanted.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if you actually, because we tell people all the time.
He put you to the test.
Exactly. I tell people all the time, that's what makes us a little different. We actually
it's
answer
that personal
our phone.
relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, working with commercial real estate brokerages can be very intimidating for a lot of people. I mean, even people who are very successful in their own businesses, they're very seasoned in real estate and investing, but you go to a big name commercial brokerage and it's a very cold, intimidating process, but that's not at all how it is with you guys. Y'all really do hold the hands of your clients. You build personal relationships with them. You want to know their story, their needs, their wants and desires, and a lot about their family as well. You're very close to them personally so that you can help them build that generational wealth. That's really your goal, right?
Right. Correct.
Yeah. And you say you do it because you want to, what's the saying again? You want to help them give more?
Yeah, we want to help them. It's all about helping them create generational wealth, and to increase their standard of living so they can increase their standard of giving. So
I like that.
I love that.
So we open up all of our events by letting people know that is our whole mission about doing these learning series is that, because we're big in the community, every quarter our whole team goes somewhere, and, whether it's, Second Harvest or, different food banks or whatever the charity is, we go, whether it's Habit for the Humanity.
Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah. So we go and help out, right? So we are just big on, teaching that in the community. So we're all about helping people increase their standard of living so they can increase their standard of giving and make a difference in their, in the community, make a difference in the world, because that's the only way we're going to create a better...
Well, you're kingdom building. So, I mean, we do need to, and that's a part of our charge, right? It's like, like you said, you build your wealth so that you can give it away and you can help more people and spread your influence and shine a bright light.
Yeah. And I appreciate you guys doing the radio show, because that's what you're doing. You're helping educate the community out there. And
thank you.
Then you have guests on like me that
amazing guests like you.
I could talk for hours and hours. You can tell,
provides
great
value.
But you can tell how passionate I am and we are about real estate and commercial real estate. Is I tell people all the time, you sure you want to have, because I can talk for hours.
Well, I think one of the coolest things is if you come into the studio and we're sitting here and we can't quit talking because we need to stop talking to air what we're talking about, and we're just like here for 2 hours with a 1 hour show because we are just all so learning and just how passionate of how we are of helping other people. So I think that's really nice. If you'd like to get some more information regarding real estate, mortgages, title, give us a call, 615-300-0794, 615-300-0794. Also, if you're just now tuning into the show focus has been today on commercial investment, industrial investment, and just a lot of great knowledge. I know that there's concerns with interest rates that are rising, but there is still opportunities that are out there and opportunities that you can build generational wealth. So give us a call. We'd love to help you or your family, 615-300-0794. So we're going into fourth quarter. What's your crystal ball say for fourth quarter?
My crystal ball says we're going to start getting phone calls from investors who have got a phone call from their CPA saying, you better buy something or you're going to have a big fat tax bill.
Ah.
Right?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So September, October, we get every year we get numerous calls.
So that's kind of like your busy season.
Yeah. So it's a lot of people think, oh, you're going to move in the holidays. It's probably going to slow down.
No.
Actually, this is our best. This fourth quarter is usually the busiest for us, is because their CPA has told them you're going to have a big tax bill if you don't get out and purchase a property or two.
And on the residential side, it's usually our slower time going into the fourth quarter. Yeah. That just reminds me from the standpoint lending. I know a lot of banks. I mean, I've had a personal banker for over 20 years, and different banks are not loaning like they used to. And I think that is something that you strategically do with your clientele, is to continue to look and see what banks are the best options that are out there that are still lending for commercial and stuff.
Right.
So when it comes to qualifying in banks, just maybe share with our listeners what that looks like, because the commercial thing can be intimidating, going, oh, I can't afford $5 million.
Right.
So kind of walk us through what that would look like as we're ending our show.
Yeah, that's a great point, because what we do is, when we're dealing with our clients, especially if they're new and they don't have an existing relationship with a lender, and that is we'll give them like 3 different lenders, and let them go out and kind of shop, see who's going to give them the best rate. But to your point, I'll use an example. I had a lender last year. They lend on probably 15 of my deals last year, right? This year, they're not lending at all. So to your point, for us, we have to have a lot of different lenders. And even if they are lending, they have this big, massive bucket, and that bucket may be made up of this much for development, as Kim does, and this much for industrial, this much for multifamily, this. And so we've always had to have a lot of lenders, because as you get towards this fourth quarter, you'll have lenders say, well, my bucket is full for this. And they might have been ones been helping you, on a number of deals, right? So you always have to have them. But particularly right now, I think you made a good point, is, we have to, I've talked to more lenders. I've talked to more lenders this year than probably ever in finding people who are lending. But I've heard from more lenders too, who are like, hey, do you have anything I can like size and get to my credit managers, because they're wanting them to bring, stuff in the door.
Wow. Doesn't
mean they'll always approve it, but, and there's different lenders out there that do, they'll do what they call tax credit lending, and a lot of it is for maybe more rural, tertiary type markets, and their rates have normally been like, 2% over, they're like 2 points over prime, right? Which, now that basically almost makes them what conventional is, but before, years ago, 2 points over prime was really low, right? So they were, and people have never known about those, but except for a few of us that really dig deep trying to find those lenders.
I wonder if we'll go back to the environment where we had, prime's been so low, so it's always been prime plus 1. But I remember back in the days doing this for 29 years, to where you'd go back and banks would offer prime minus 1 or prime minus 2 to take the market share, because prime's 8.5 right now.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because I apologize. I need to back up on that. They're 2 points under prime, not above
Under
prime.
prime. Okay.
Under prime.
Okay.
The tax credit, and that's why it was. It's always been for a lot of people, it's been a great deal, because they're always 2 points under prime.
That's awesome. So
Right.
with
So-
prime being at 8.5%,
Right.
then you're
They're
at
at
6.5%.
Yep.
Another thing I want to just kind of touch on, if someone's listening and thinking, wow, you've kind of intrigued my interest in maybe looking at multifamily or commercial, is the qualification aspect. And a lot of times people think it has to be my current income only that you use. But when you get into this arena, it's kind of like investment on a residential property. If an appraiser says it'll rent for X, and I can give you 75% of credit for that. Is that kind of same on the commercial if they're jumping into tenant leases, or if it's a
Yeah, it is.
multifamily apartment? So talk just a little bit about that.
It is. So, a lot of them used to do, most of them all did, 80%, right?
Okay.
So LTV, you only had to bring 20% to the table. With the lending environment we're in now, you do have where, you're now having to bring 30, 35%.
Okay.
And, and they're underrating on the property and and the person and the individual or the group or the, syndication, whatever, whatever they are. So they're doing all of that. And they used to be able to use a, kind of the global cash flow model. So maybe if the property was at, say the buyer, was really, really strong, but the property maybe only met the DCR of like 1.21 and it need to be 1.25. If the buyer was real strong, that could make up the difference. Now they're not doing that at all. If the property doesn't meet that DCR, they won't even.
They won't touch it.
They won't
Wow.
even touch it right now. And so yeah, I mean, the whole lending environment has
Changed. Are
definitely
they still giving
changed,
a
but-
percentage of the rent based upon what the appraiser is providing? Or if it's a true commercial and say I have, Starbucks coming in, are we giving credit to that still to
Yeah,
help
so-
offset the qualifications?
Yeah, so if where we'll have clients who buy a retail center, right, and so they do get a higher bump if they have what's called credit rated tenants. So like we represent Edward Jones, financial. Well, Edward Jones, that's a credit rated tenant, meaning that corporate
Sure.
corporate is going to pay that rent whether
No
that
matter
guy
what.
makes it or not, right?
Right.
And so the more credit rated tenants, the better your
Qualifying ratio could be.
yep,
Okay.
yeah. So if you have them over the beer and tobacco guys, not to
Yeah.
say anything,
So-
but
It's for that person that's out there that's pretty conservative. It's not impossible. It's just getting the education that's
Correct.
needed. And if someone was wanting just to kind of explore that, how would you recommend them contact you
Yep.
and
Yeah.
get that information to them?
Yeah, give us a call. And the thing is, we'll walk alongside people to make it so it doesn't look scary. And it's not scary. We give them access to deals they would never get elsewhere. We're kind of known as the shop that has not all, but has a lot of off-market, properties. I'll have buyers that'll, or other brokers will call me and say, okay, I know you guys have all the off-market stuff. What do you got? Right. And so, so we give them access to deals that, they would never have access to
Never know about.
and
Yeah.
never know about, and so we help them make it so it's not scary.
Yeah.
So it's
and
SVN, a cell commercial real estate. What's your phone
Correct.
number?
It is 615-260-2121.
Okay.
And he will answer his phone.
And I will answer if you call. You can you can
first-
try me out.
Yeah, you can test it right now this
Yeah.
Saturday. I was going to say one of the things that when I first met you, because Kim was our introduction and you were on the show, you shared a really great story about how you won a really great client because you answered your phone and you were even driving to dinner. And so sometimes that just makes me think, so sometimes I'm driving to dinner and I'm not paying attention to my phone or my head is somewhere else. And I think that just shows the strength of your passion in helping others, regardless of what's going on with you personally. You're there to give back, like you said, and to help people build wealth.
I appreciate you guys sharing that the last time I was on, because I got a number of calls after that of saying, "Oh my gosh, that was the most incredible story."
Yeah, so that you answer your phone.
Well, that and just that story of of how I got into the
how you got that client out of California, and
multifamily, all that stuff.
And then you had to get it done, like I think in 4 or 5 hours before midnight. So
I mean, that is wild.
Yeah, it is a wild story, but
it's kind of cool that a listener doesn't have to know anything, not one single thing about commercial real estate, but you're going to walk them through that process, and they have that security knowing that you're taking care of everything for them.
Well, and that group I'd mentioned that came in, the 16 people came in for to learn. Where they're coming in again tomorrow afternoon, 3:00, right?
Wow.
So
really?
Yeah, so we're helping them walk through all of that, and we're shooting that content because we're doing going to be doing our own commercial real estate academy. So that's going to be one of the the lessons, but yeah, they're coming in to learn all about multifamily. So
that's really cool.
That is so awesome. I love the heart of education. Yeah. So I appreciate you so much taking your time to be on the show today and sharing that information. And I just want consumers to know, I feel like my very first residential home, I was in the business for 2 years. And I was scared I wouldn't get approved. And I think the commercial is even a scarier thing. And that's why I want people to really know that they have a local expert that they can lean on, that will hold their hand and walk them through the process. And I've personally experienced it just as my daughter is going through this journey with her company out of California. So thank you so much for taking your time today. If you missed the show, please go check it out on podcast and YouTube. Kim, as always, thank you for being my co-host, bringing in a wonderful guest. And a little thing that I got to say before we sign off is we were running a little bit late on the show today because Brian actually had to go to a closing and they were just not as organized as Hollingshead and Associates. So you do have a choice when it comes to a title company. Please know that. Don't let them just write it in your contract. So everyone have a blessed week. Be sure and tune in next week every Saturday from noon to 1 to the Tonya Esquibel Real Estate Show.